be fun.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Had a Dream live breaking news podcast. My name is Stevie Clifford, and yeah, Andrew is back. He is back after telling me and Kenny that he was going to be off for ages, and we thought it was like a really serious thing. He's back after a week. So, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew is back. We welcome him and Kenny back. So welcome everybody to Breaking News Show. You will know why we're here. Rangers have formally announced Barry Ferguson and his staff have left the club. Not a surprise. I don't think not a huge surprise. Certainly not. And we're going to just discuss that and discuss some of the things happened yesterday, and we'll discuss some of the things that have happened today. So yeah, we are here. Afternoon, boys. How are you? He's okay.
Oh, good, mate. Yeah, had a nice day lying about in the sun, so on here to do what we've got to do.
Good, having spent a week in hospital, Stevie. Yeah, thank you for all your sympathy, obviously. Yeah, good to be back.
Welcome back, Andrew.
That's not fair. I was kind of sympathetic.
Yeah, my favourite was a day after I'd been admitted, you messaging me saying, "Can you do some work on that documentary though? Like, can you just sort of start squaring that away?" It's like, it's going to be a bit tricky for me, Stevie, given that I'm in hospital and I can't get to my stuff. I'm like, "Oh, you're in hospital, are you?" Oh,
it was I don't have my PC right at hand, which got me.
I don't have the big computer right here in front of me in my hospital bed.
Who gets admitted to hospital and doesn't take their Four Lads stuff with them?
It wasn't planned, really. Go for an eye test, find out you're going to die. So, that's always good.
Such drama. Right, anyway, let's go on with it. We're very delighted that you're back, Andrew and Kenny. Let's get on to it. The Rangers have released a statement for those that haven't seen it. It reads as such. Everyone at Rangers Football Club would like to pass on their heartfelt thanks to Barry Ferguson and his staff, with yesterday's game at Hibernian being their final match in charge. Club legend Ferguson answered the call in the club's hour of need back in February and has overseen several memorable moments during his time in charge, not least progression to the quarterfinals of UEFA Europa League and a terrific victory at Parkhead. A Hall of Famer, Ferguson will now leave this role along with Neil McCann, Billy Dodds and Alan McGregor, with enormous gratitude and best wishes of everyone at Ibrox for their efforts in these last few months. And there's a bit from Patrick Stewart, which we'll skip. Outgoing head coach Barry Ferguson said, "I've already lived the dream as a player and as a captain of Rangers, and to do so as a head coach in the last 3 months has been an enormous honour for me." We'll read more of what Barry said, and we'll cover what Patrick Stewart said about it as well, just in a couple of minutes or so. But your immediate thoughts, Andrew, on that statement?
Yeah, I mean, it confirms what I think we'd all figured was going to happen. Barry probably hasn't done enough to get the job full time. I don't think there was much he could do realistically to get the job full time. It's a thank you for someone who stepped in during an absolutely atrocious situation that the board had got themselves into. Phil Clement, I think we probably could have said at the start of the year, maybe wasn't the man to take us forward. And Barry has come in and done, I think, a fairly admirable job as our caretaker. Hasn't got the results in the league, but again, the caveat to that is always he's working with this squad of players, and that they have failed to deliver consistently. So again, it draws a line under this particular sorry era that we've had with the club. We can only hope that we are looking forward to bigger and better things in the near future.
Yeah, as Andrew says, Kenny, Barry came in at the time of need. I suppose you could, as the old famous saying goes, you can only piss with the cock you've got, and unfortunately, he inherited several of them. How would you react to today's news?
unsurprising. It's kind of out with the old and in with the new, and start of a new era, hopefully. As both of you has said, it's not surprising at all that it's been announced. And I'm not surprised it's been announced today. I think we'll probably see things happening, sort of perhaps start to happen next week. So yeah, again, you can sit there and look at it and say that it came in February, and you can only work with the tools you've got. And this team had phoned it in long before he turned up. So yeah, thank him for everything. Thank all of them for everything that they've done. They've managed to just sail the boat and career the path, haven't they? And just get it to the end of the season. So no surprises at all that it's happened today. Season's over yesterday, so that was kind of the way I've seen it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I think me personally, I think I would go on record as saying I'm very thankful of Barry Ferguson and his staff for coming in. They came in at a time where we'd not long been put out of the Scottish Cup by Queen's Park, and then just been beaten at home to St Mirren. The squad was quite literally on his knees. They put put the club before each of them to come in and do it, because let's be honest, as Andrew peeks over that comment, let's be honest, this was never really going to be great for Ferguson and co, was it? Because the squad is in such a mess that no matter how well they've done, you were always going to have the moments like Hibs at home, Motherwell at home and stuff like that. But I tend to think that he steadied the ship. Would Clermont have done better? I'm not sure. I think it would have been very much up or down under Philippe, because that's the way it basically was going. I'm extremely thankful to all of them for their leadership, I think, during this time. And I think Barry he's brought us some moments, certainly Europa League, the win in Fenerbahce, the win at Parkhead, and also at the same time, I think he's really improved the midfielders. I think he's much improved. Nico Raskin, I think you can see that. By the way, I also think that Cyril Dessers has been excellent under him. He's had a really, really good couple of months under him. And the rest, what can you really get out of much of the rest of the squad? So I'm more than thankful for his for all of the management team and stepping in, Kenny, because it was never going to be great. It's not like he could ever have possibly come in with this squad and won every single game to the end of the season. He tried to mix it up, he tried to change it up, but he's just hit the same brick wall as I think most would have had. But overall, I think with what he's got, he's done fine and taken us, I think, to the end of the season where hopefully, I'm not going to say bigger and better things because I think that's unfair on them, but a new era can start with new people in charge.
Well, what I would say is that if you analyse our form over the last 15 months, nobody's getting a tune out of this squad of players. We all sat, behind the scenes privately saying last summer when the players were coming in, there's nobody winning a league with this squad of players. They're not good enough. So it might have been a little bit of a surprise to some of them, the likes of Barry and McGregor and Billy Dodge, Neil McCann, to see the levels that some of these guys are at, because they're clearly not good enough. So it should be no surprise that our form is a bit up and down, because it's up and down for 15 months. And this is probably a poorer squad than we had even last season, which is saying something when you consider some of the guys that we got rid of. So he's came in, he's answered the call, and they all have. And we should be proud of them for turning up and standing up to it. Have they been flawless? No. But my point would be that you could bring Pep or Mikel Arteta, Arne Slot, or anybody and try and get results for this squad. They're not good enough, Stevie. They make so many fundamental basic errors that, you could see Barry at times looking at it and just mystified at the basic mistakes that we make as a team. So he goes with my best wishes. They all do. And as you say, it is, let's look to a new dawn, a new era, and let's see where we go from here, because change is absolutely required on multiple levels, not just at a management level. Squad needs ripped out, board new board, new manager. Let's see where we go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Huge thanks to Jason Brown, who has become a YouTube member. We really appreciate that. Everybody that has become a YouTube member, well over 200 now, approaching. I think we're just shy of 230. So, yeah, absolutely delighted for everybody that's supporting us and become YouTube members. You have access to some member videos that are available only for members, including some interviews. Stephen Naismith interview is live for all of you to watch and will remain a member only video for the moment whilst everybody gets a chance to watch that. What we will try and do in the future, and what I am trying to do, is bring stories that haven't been told before, stories that are interesting and with people. So there was a few names suggested, and he was one of them. It is a controversial interview. He does speak about his exit. He does speak about his moments for the club. So that's there. Everybody wants to go and watch that. Getting back to today's news, Andrew, could it have went better for Ferguson, or was it just a case of doing what he had to do in that circumstance?
I think you're on a hiding to nothing with this squad, unfortunately. It very much is, you can only work with the proverbial tool that you have in your hand. And with the lack of quality from the squad, he was always going to be on a hiding to nothing. I think if he'd managed to get more consistent results in the league, if he'd managed to get that squad playing, as we joked, if he'd managed to win the Europa League, then it had statue outside the stadium, let alone anything else. But the truth of the matter is, while I think you can point to the lack of quality in the squad, some of Barry's managerial decisions, his refusal to play some of the other squad members, and that might be down to how crap they are in training. Again, we don't know that. We don't see them there. But some of his substitution choices were questionable at times. I think tactically he was sometimes too slow to make changes in games. And I think because of that, I don't think he was ever going to be on a realistic consideration for the job full time. Ultimately, while it would be nice for Barry to have had a shot with an actual good squad behind them, maybe things could have gone differently. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think there was really anything realistically he could have done in this caretaker period to convince the powers that be that he was going to get the job full time.
Yeah, short of winning that Europa League, which really was, really, really, really difficult to do that, especially with this group of players. The only thing I would say about that Europa League run is I'm still, and it will probably always irk me in a way, that we never played our best stuff against Athletic Club. I think that we, if we had hit the kind of performance that we did away to Fenerbahce, then perhaps we might have given them a proper game. I don't think we did. For a 5 or 10 minute period over there, I thought, okay, but we just never got there. At home, the game was done after 10 minutes because of proper sending off. So, yeah, that always irked me a wee bit. But even, honestly, my head kind of tells me that if we could have, even if we had seen it through, then I think that Man United would have been too strong for us anyway, although we would have given them a game, no doubt. Patrick Stewart said, the club and I am sure all our supporters will be forever grateful to Barry for stepping up and taking on the role of head coach. He and his staff have performed admirably amongst some trying circumstances, and they achieved some excellent results along the way. Barry, Neil, Billy and Alan all had distinguished playing careers at Rangers, and they all have enhanced their standing with the club for their work since February. The reception they received at Ibrox on Wednesday was fully merited, and I know how much it meant to Barry and his team. The search for our new head coach is progressing well, and we look forward to concluding our process in the coming period. So 2 things from that I'm going to point out. I've already said this, I think it was Rangers Review the other day. Delighted with the reception received at Ibrox on Wednesday night. I thought that was a really nice moment. It's a pity the stadium wasn't full, but that, Kenny, I think was a nice touch for him, and I hope they appreciate the fact that I would not the hardcore, that's not the right, but the match going fans really showed them that kind of moment.
Yeah, of course. And if the stadium had been full, it would have been even louder, mate. You know that yourself, because there's nobody that's going to games that's going to sit and criticise Barry Ferguson for, as I say, taking the call to arms and doing us an enormous favour in his hour. And he didn't have to take this job. None of them had to come back and put themselves through the ringer like this, because it was as clear as day before he got here that this squad was in a chaotic mess. That's what I would say. Results have been up and down all season. My son and I were talking last night, and I don't actually remember if we won 3 or 4 games in a row in the league all season. We've dropped points in 16 games in the league this season. So the issue's not been Barry. The issue's been recruitment. And what I would say about Barry, where I knew he was just slightly too inexperienced to get this job, was away in Bilbao, which you mentioned there, when Yilmaz went off and there was players screeching over at the dugout, what are we supposed to be doing? Now that for me was one of those things that you should be in a European quarterfinal. For me, you should be prepared for all scenarios, and we weren't. And I think a more experienced manager could have seen that coming with Yilmaz, because he started with a tight hamstring, and he's playing against one of the fastest players in Europe, so it might well go. Out with that, I've got no complaints about it, and Patrick Stewart has said that pretty well. Actually, that's pretty much how I think we all feel it. And my abiding kind of take on this is that I would say thank you to all 4 of them for coming, taking the job. They were all in work. They were all doing things. They didn't have to uproot and turn their lives upside down and become that crowd or that guy that's in the spotlight, because Rangers are forever going to be talked about. And if you're prepared to put yourself in that situation where everything's gone, there's nothing to play for, the chances of winning the Europa League with that squad were incredibly slim, and that was all really that was going to get him the job, was to go and win the one trophy that was available to us, and that wasn't really going to happen. And for me, ultimately, with the takeover happening, what you have to consider is what the board were doing, and whoever came in had to be short term and had to be dispensable. And as I say, I'll thank all 4 of them for turning up and doing it, particularly Barry, because he put himself front and centre. So I'll always be grateful for him for doing that.
Barry Ferguson said, "I've already lived the dream as a player and a captain of Rangers, and to do so as head coach in these last 3 months has been an enormous honour for me. There have been some ups and downs, but I've loved my experience and given it all my all throughout. I want to thank Neil, Barry and Alan, the 3 staff members who came in with me, and all the other staff who supported me during my time in charge. Indeed, from everyone at the training centre and at Ibrox, the backing I've received has been phenomenal. Above all, I want to thank our supporters. There is no doubt this has been a difficult season, but the backing of the team and I have continued to receive in spite of that has been incredible. I have said no matter how this period panned out, I would always remain a committed supporter of the club, and I look forward to remaining a Rangers ambassador. I wish whomever becomes the new manager every success in the job." Nice words from Barry. On that news management, back to what Patrick Stewart said, Andrew. The search for our new head coach is progressing well, and we look forward to concluding our process in the coming period. The coming period is an interesting comment. When is the coming period, Andrew? Because we actually need this to be concluded quickly. Not only I think for for the playing staff and for but to start arranging for next season is absolutely vital. The players go away now and they'll be back on the 23rd of June. It's not a long time, and then there's already friendlies lined up for the start of July at Ibrox Stadium. It's not going to be a long time before we're getting set to go again. This has to happen as quickly as possible.
mean, if you want to be technical, the coming period at most would be 30 days, right? So, listen, it's a vague enough term that it could be literally any amount of time. It could be 2 days. It could be 2 months. We don't know. But as you say, it has to happen soon. We've got these matches coming up. We would probably like to do some pre-season training prior to that as well. So you're going to need someone in to take the coaching. At the moment, we've only got our Moroccan coach, who's the only kind of formal coach who's in position there for the first team. So we need someone in urgently. But I get that it needs to be a key appointment, but we've had since February, and you would hope longer than that to be thinking about who you want the long-term manager and indeed management team of Rangers to be, because it's not just going to be whoever the figurehead will be. There will be a team of people around them as well to ensure that good things are happening. And as Jimbo in the chats just pointed out, there pre-season starts 23rd of June. Got a month away, so maybe period does make sense.
Yeah, I would think it. I don't know. On the conversations, I suppose, Kenny, around we spoke about this midweek, didn't we? On where we think the management thing is. I think Steven Gerrard's back to being favourite with the bookies. Danny Rawls still there about, and so is Davide Ancelotti Jr. So, it's not a bad list in terms of where we are. I've read things about people turning it down and things like that. If you ask those questions to relevant people, they'll tell you that's absolutely untrue. So Chris Jack's last update on Davide Ancelotti Jr. is that we'll know our situation with him in the next week to couple of weeks with him. Where are we? And if of those three, Kenny, if those were to be the three, and they're the ones that people are most likely, I think Rob Edwards has kind of slipped way out of it. Where do you find yourself kind of going towards in terms of who you would want to come in?
I'm quite excited by the idea of Davide Ancelotti. I'm not averse to Steven Gerrard coming back, because I strangely think he would be a guy that knows the league and would be more of a safe pair of hands. It's not as risky. But I have a funny feeling that if it was Ancelotti, that excites me a bit more, because if you're attracting the attention and managing to get the Real Madrid assistant, I would look at it more about, well, what are you offering him? What are the terms and ambitions of the football club, and what are the plans? Because you're not, for a guy that's been assistant manager at Bayern Munich, at Napoli, at Real Madrid, you have to look at that and say, well, these are top tier, top level football clubs. So if you're managing to encourage him and get him and persuade him to come here, then what are our ambitions? Because they must be through the roof in terms of the new owners. That's where I would look at that. As I say, where we are, I would suggest that the fact, and this is me guessing, it's just reading between the lines, that the very fact that we're announcing that Barry and his backroom team are away today, this is way, way farther down the line than we've been led to believe. I think that whatever it is, it's pretty much already agreed, and certainly in principle, that whoever it is coming, is coming. That's what my hunch is, my guess is. I said this to you the other day. Whoever it is, they're my two preferred choices. That's what I would say to you. Ancelotti and Steven Gerrard, for two totally separate reasons. But if I was having a guess, or somebody gave me a tenner to put on it, I would suggest that the 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh would probably be more inclined to go with a younger manager. I think that's the kind of route that they probably intend to go down. But we shall wait and see. But what do you think? Again, what do you guys think? Because I'm really intrigued at this now.
Well, I'm about to ask Andrew, but just to say thanks to Chris Williams, thanks Stevie and the rest of the guys for turning up all season I only wish our team did onwards and upwards. Yeah, nice wee break for us. Last match day vlog today at the women's game, which was just a total shit show, which sums up the whole season, unfortunately. We'll talk about it in a wee bit. But yeah, the vlog and things like that, we do, the live shows and everything, we do, and we hope people enjoy them. But sometimes, Christ, it is difficult. And that today was extremely difficult to get through. Andrew, let's go back to management. Before we do, let's thank Bluebells Are Blue. He always does this, one of the biggest supporters of the channel, and we love that, for gifting 10 of the podcast memberships. We really appreciate that. They're available, folks. If you don't have one, grab one. You'll get yourself access to Stephen A. Smith interview, etc. That is available for members only. So thank you again, Bluebells Are Blue. We really do appreciate that. Even what I will say about that particular poster is, even on our competition, we've got a competition to win a couple of t-shirts and things that were given to us, and we put that out for members. He commented last week saying just such a great thing, doesn't want to win it, but just wanted to say well done to the channel and stuff like that, and we really appreciate that. So thank you, mate. If you want one of them, grab them right now because they are available. Andrew, so Kenny spoke a wee bit about it. I'm going to give my opinion on it, but where are you with who you would like to see, or not even who you would like to see, if you don't want to pin somebody, what type of manager or head coach or whatever would you like to see?
I think the concern has been, for me, us landing on a manager who has got a really set way of playing, because I don't think you can approach Rangers with just a set system in place. You can't be, I must play exactly this way and nothing else. Because if you're the manager of Rangers, you need to be adaptive. You're going to go from European football against high quality teams to the Old Firm to Motherwell on a Sunday night. A wet, dank, dreary, kind of horrible game. And you're going to need to be able to find a way to play and win against every single type of opponent like that. So you need to be a manager who is pragmatic enough to adjust your system when it makes sense, to be able to change the way that you play depending on the opposition. Because if you just set out and say, I always play with this exact formation, with this exact style of play, come what may, come hell or high water. And I think if you do that, you just set yourself up for failure, because we've seen successful managers in the past in Scottish football being able to adapt to different ways that their opposition are going to play. Brendan Rodgers will set up differently against us than he will against Hibs or St Mirren, for instance. And then you're going to need to be pragmatic and be able to play in Europe as well. You need to be able to do that. Well, the problem that we have had is that we have had managers who are too focused on one type of thing. So Steven Gerrard, for instance, was great in European football, was good against the other side of the city as well, struggled in some of the domestic games. And we saw that with Chio as well. Barry, again, has been magnificent in the Old Firm games and did well in Europe, but against the bread and butter games in the league, really struggled. So you need to be able to adapt and adjust your style of play and your ability to break down different types of teams depending on the game. So that's where I'm at. So managers like Russell Martin, who I've got my own personal reasons not being a fan of, but for him in general, like I'm wedded to this system and I want to play this way. That doesn't work for me, because I want to see a manager who is willing to be pragmatic and adjustable in terms of who they're playing against. And I think that's a struggle that we've had in the past, and I think it's something that you need to embrace as the new board, because we play three very different types of games in this league: European football, Old Firm games, and then the rest of the league. And you need to be able to do all three of those.
Andrew, you will answer that question on the screen, won't you? How do you take advantage of gifting membership? Don't you just click on it at the top of the comment section?
The issue is, Let's Talk Football Careers, is that you need to be very quick. When it's gifted, you need to be there in the first 10 seconds, because as soon as it's clicked, it's gone. So just need to be quick. Bluebells Are Blue has been ridiculously generous with us. And so I don't want to make any assumptions that he's definitely going to throw some more of those in there. But yeah, you just need to be quick and ready. Unfortunately, once you've got it, you'll be awarded the membership. You'll get a free membership for a month, and then yeah, I think there's no restrictions in terms of the levels. So it can be a basic membership, it can be, one of the founding memberships. Either way, if you've got one of those, then it means you can use the stickers, and that's the most important thing. I mean, you get access to the exclusive membership videos as well. You can see the Stephen Naismith interview, but really, you're there for the stickers, aren't you? You want to see a bit of that. Come on, that's what it's all about. This is why you want the membership. Realistically, there you go. You've even got a little Andrew sticker as well. Okay, so everyone's happy.
Thanks for that, Andrew. That's wonderful news. It has just been gifted by Chris. Gifted 1 4 Lads membership, so grab it if you can get it. Also, thank you as well to Sandra Bogan, who has become a YouTube member. Love that. Thank you so much. Right, my thoughts on new manager is very much the same as you, Andrew. They need to be adaptable. I think they need to know a bit about what they're coming into in terms of the kind of games they're going to play here, where the low blocks and those tricky games away from home, where you're doing everything you can to try and break people down and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is one of those where I think that really needs to be a priority, because, like the Russell Martin thing, when they come in, I get your point on that, because he plays only one way, and what happens if that doesn't work and things like that? That's my big thing. On the people that's mentioned, I've said this a long time ago, and I still think that my choice at the time would have been Steven Gerrard, because he's safe pair of hands. He knows the league, he knows the club, and I can understand that he would be coming into something that he was comfortable with. But that's me, because I like safety. I like that safe kind of viewpoint. Somebody like Ancelotti Jr. excites me as a head coach, because I'm intrigued by how good he could be. Like, what's he going to be like? But I also realise that, was it Paul Clement, wasn't it? He was the assistant at Real under Ancelotti for so long and basically crashed wherever he went. So I'm aware of the risks with that kind of guy. Likewise, Raw at Sheffield Wednesday is an exciting one. He plays a really exciting, expansive kind of game. He moves around quite a lot. He's not stuck on any particular formation. So that can interest me, especially that when you think about Sheffield Wednesday should have went down this year. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. And he came in when they're bottom of the league, and he turned them into a mid-table club in only a few months. So I think that is that. But then with Gerrard and with Ancelotti Jr., maybe more than Rowe, they're able to attract, I think, better caliber of players. I think they would have a network and because of their name and who they are, they would be able to bring people in. So it's just interesting. We know as much as everybody else with regards to the manager hunt. It's the same with the players and things like that. I think that we, in previous years, we've had an insight and things like that, and I think that might be an interesting one with regards to this summer, because with the new Andrew Kavanagh and his new consortium coming in, I think that would be that maybe wouldn't be as well known. They'll do business a wee bit more quietly, that's for sure. Kenny, with all that said, looking back on yesterday, when we think about yesterday's final performance for Barry and Co, there's one real thing we need to talk about, and that is, quite frankly, I thought an absolute ridiculous moment, Kenny, where we've scored, and that's, we've immediately not given the goal. Hibs go up and equalise. VAR doesn't intervene. It was just a bit of an absolute calamity, was it not?
Scottish referees, Stevie. I seen one today as well. Don't know if you've clocked this yet, but I think it was a Hearts player get sent off. I think it was, where a guy's kicked him and he's followed through, kicked a Kilmarnock player, and VAR's got involved. The referee was right. that VAR's got involved and they've sent the boy off for having his foot kicked and the follow through on his, and really quite badly. But the situation with this, mate, right? I'm puzzled, and somebody in the comments could tell me this, because I'm under the impression, right, when it comes to VAR, that you've got these lines that they're using in this VAR light that we use, and they did manage to find that Martin Boyle 15 seconds later, 10 seconds later, was about 2 millimeters onside, I beg your pardon. But they run the same equipment all the way back to the goal line, where they have a defined line on that goal line, and they turn around and said, we don't have a conclusive camera angle. What a load of cobblers, mate. I mean, is that me? I just find that almost an impossibility. If it's going from goal line to goal line, which is exactly what it's there and doing, and it works all the way up, it just drives up and down the pitch effectively. How can you honestly turn around and say you don't have a conclusive angle that tells you that it's over the line? And more importantly, do you not have a pair of eyes between you? There's a referee. Have you seen the assistant? The assistant's a yard off the goal line. He's got the perfect view of it. He can't see it. The referee can't see it. The fourth official with his monitor can't see it. And two grade 1 officials sitting in the VAR room, they can't see it conclusively either. They're the only 5 people on this planet that's seen this that can't see it. It's just mind-boggling. It's the most bizarre set of circumstances, and corrupt's a very strong word, and I wouldn't necessarily say that, but what I would say is that you've got to question that. Like, seriously question it. How can you possibly turn around and tell us that you can get an offside that's millimeters correct, but you can't see a ball that's miles over the line with the same equipment in the same sequence of pattern of play?
I think the best thing about it was, for me, it actually kind of rolls up the inside of the net. So I'm not sure how anybody with, watching that can decide that it's not in it. I did think that John Brown was very to the point. Do we have goal line technology as well? No, Bluebells Blue. The answer is we are not. John Brown called it corruption, Andrew. I just think it's farcical and ridiculous. But this referee keeps popping up lately. His decision for handball during the week, questionable again. And then he has that moment yesterday. If he's properly up with play, and I don't think he was positionally, he sees that sin, regardless of what anybody else is saying, and he gives it himself. Now, I just don't think he's done his job as well as the assistant. And I think there might be a wee bit of everybody waiting on somebody else to make the decision. Nobody does. They play on, go up the field and score. But VAR should at that point. Listen, VAR could go back a minute to check that Tom Lawrence had fouled last year in an Old Firm to disallow one of our goals and basically found a way to chop it off. Why can't they have had a proper look at that yesterday? Because I don't believe they intervened or had a look at all. And I just think, Andrew, it makes our game look pretty farcical.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know there were issues with Rangers TV for the game, but even I was still able to see that the ball had crossed the line on an AHS Wi-Fi as well. It's fantastic. I'm inclined to agree with Bomber, because I don't think there's any reasonable explanation you can provide when a few thousand people are watching it remotely, when everyone in the stadium can see it, when all the players seem to see it. For the refereeing team, the VAR team, to somehow contrive to not see what's happened, and this isn't like it was, it's like sort of nearly there, but it's not quite. There wasn't any kind of issue with it. When there's daylight between the post and the ball in the net, it's over the line, lads. And I agree with you, Stevie, that it is farcical, because it is. The league, needs things to sell it internationally, to sell it in terms of a TV deal. There's American investment coming in, not just for us, but for other teams as well in the league. And for you to continuously see just small-minded, petty stuff like this, because that's what it is ultimately. It's people allowing their own personal judgments to interfere with just refereeing the game properly. I think that's ultimately where we're at, because I cannot see how that can be ruled out. And you're right. VAR manages to find ways to go back and chop off goals that we get fairly easily, with no problem. So, yeah, it was shocking to see.
I will say one thing. I was disappointed with our statement. Our statement was, in my opinion, weak. We've been harder on our own fans than we have been on a position like that yesterday. I don't know if any of you boys want to come in, but I was disappointed in Rangers yesterday with regards to that. I thought it was weak, and we basically panned our own supporters just a couple of weeks ago and given us more stick than that moment, and I don't think that's good enough from a Rangers point of view, boys.
We were able to see that. We were able to say that other things crossed the line, but we weren't able to say that goal crossed the line. I mean, it's a case of the board not standing up for us as a team. Like, it's cheating, it's corruption. You can call it what you will, but it's absolutely abysmal refereeing, quite frankly. And for us to throw out a statement that says, "Oh, it was a mealy-mouthed statement. It wasn't strong enough. It wasn't authoritative enough." And I get that the club and the board are limited in what they can do, and I get that this board in particular may not want to do anything to provoke any kind of controversy, given the situation that they are in. They're on the way out. But when, as Tommy Boy 75 in the comments says, when Hibs TV say it's a goal, I'm not sure what more you can do in that situation.
There's nothing sums this up better than that statement. The quicker these guys go, the better, right? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they are out there absolutely pillorying our own support for nothing really. Let's move for being a bit cheeky and a bit naughty, and that's it. Nothing untoward. This has been going on for us in a cup final with VAR. It's happening now again. It's been happening all season, and it's so lightweight in terms of the way that they react to stuff like this. I'm just utterly scunnered with them, and it didn't surprise me in the slightest that we're going to work with the SFA. Well, the SFA aren't interested in what you say. How many times does it need to be said over the years, Stevie, that nobody cares what Rangers say? So you'd be as well been far more forceful and actually do something about it. And I was working yesterday, watching it, and strangely I had Radio Clyde on. And for the first time in my entire life, I think I agreed with Hugh Keevans, where he turned around and said after it, when they read out the statement, and he said, well, look, Rangers like a statement. They're good at that. But do something about it. And that's exactly, I totally agree with them. What's the point in putting a statement out saying we're going to work with you? It's an utterly futile thing to say. Do something about it. And I would say this, it's mystified me for a long time, because Rangers have said over and over again, we want a better version of VAR. We want goal line technology in this statement yesterday. We have a crowd of multi-billionaires coming in to take over. Celtic already have 3 multi-billionaires on their board. Why has this not been dealt with already? We've had 2 years of VAR and it's been an utter sham, Stevie. Why has this not been getting discussed all season, that we need a better version of VAR? And why, if it has to be this way, why do Rangers and Celtic actually not turn around and say, look, we'll actually pay for it? Get this version of VAR in the bin. It is utterly pathetic. I mean, I'm looking at the the Hibs first goal yesterday, and I'm looking at these two lines, a red line and a blue line. Neither are straight, and the angle of the broken line is like this. You're like, this is a nonsense. This is the most pathetic thing that you'll ever see. And it's embarrassing for the game. And as Andrew has said, we've got a tin pot TV deal, we've got a tin pot VAR, tin pot plastic pitches. No wonder people don't want to buy into our game, Stevie. And they're going to charge people 35 quid minimum to get into a game. It's a nonsense when you don't have a referee worthy of wearing a referee's kit. No wonder our game's a mess. And this is what I would be looking at with that statement. Not strong enough. Actually, wet wiped, pathetic. Do something about it. And I hope that the new owners don't resort to this kind of type, because it's not strong enough and it's not good enough. And I've said it for many, many years that Rangers politically and influentially have lost their way. And it's statements like this that kind of really piss me off. I've got to be honest. You just shake your head and go, "What? How pathetic can you be with that kind of thing?"
Kenny, indeed, our very own John Brown of Four Lads. A few comments about Tom Miller on commentary for Rangers. Just to be clear, folks, Rangers could end up getting hauled up in front of the SFA. They could end up getting fined. They could end up getting all sorts. I really extremely doubt that Tom had an issue with what John Brown said, but would be very wary of that sort of comment being allowed to go unchecked. So I just want to thank a couple of members that have signed up. David Houston has signed up as well, and also Alex has signed up a couple of new members on our YouTube channel. That takes our membership over 250. So absolutely delighted. There's 4,500 people watching this, with so many people commenting and things. So we really appreciate it. We're trying to get through so many. I actually missed yesterday's game. This will give you all a laugh. Very thankful to our sponsor, CSD Air Conditioning. Carlo set up himself a game yesterday. It was a sponsored game at Ibrox Stadium. So I managed a little 10-15 minute cameo at the end of the game. It was 4-2. My team was getting beat, and at full time it remained 4-2. So yeah, a little 10, not going to say 15, but it was slightly over 10.5 minute cameo at Ibrox yesterday for your old dad and goals, and it was a lot of fun. Dream come true to play on that pitch. Unfortunately, unlike the Rangers female goalkeeper today, women's goalkeeper, who didn't manage a clean sheet, I did, she didn't, and Rangers succumbed to an absolute pathetic bottle job today in front of 6,000 people at Ibrox. Lads, not discuss this for too long, but what an absolute nightmare that was today. The match vlog kind of sums it up. This was what Rangers do in every single big game. They can win one-off games, but when it comes to the absolute crunch, once again, they have let us down. Today was a nightmare. They have lost the league. Not only have they lost the league, they've now finished third, which means there will be no European football next season either. This is where I have real issues, right? Because that sort of thing should result in, I'm not going to say sackings, but people should be held responsible. And I think for our own football club, this is what gets me, is I think we've lost the DNA of our football club, which was winning at all costs. They looked like today they were going through the motions, didn't look like they had the drive, didn't look like they had the desire. And that hurts me throughout the squad, because it doesn't matter if it's under 18s who recently blew the league, or the women, or whatever, but our football club needs to get back to winning, Kenny. And Andrew, it doesn't matter what level they are, but we need to do that and get that mentality of winning at all costs no matter what. And the women today bottled it, and that's not acceptable. It doesn't matter what level it is. When you're playing for Rangers, you got to win, and we just don't win.
I think it's worth saying that I don't think it's obviously they didn't win today, and that cost them the league. But the truth is that this team should have had the league shown up ages ago. The goal difference, I think, is a reflection on how good that women's team can be when they choose to do it. But the problem is they've dropped too many silly points. Stop me if this sounds familiar, right? But they've tripped up on fairly straightforward, easy games. They've managed to beat some of the other teams quite comfortably, and then they've thrown away points in silly matches. And the fact that it came down to the last game of the season is because earlier in the season they've just thrown points away elsewhere. I want to say as well, there's some comments about the cost of the women's team. The women's team costs bugger all for Rangers, realistically. It's a worthwhile investment. I think it's going to be good, and we need to have it anyway for UEFA competitions. But it's a few weeks' wages of like TAV. Probably, in fairness, it's about half of what we're going to pay for Oscar Cortez this season.
I think the cost of the women's team in the last accounts was 1.1 million. They are not.
So 4 years of Oscar Cortez then. 4 months of Oscar Cortez.
It's not the most expensive in the league by far. Glasgow City outpay us by miles. But they are full time, and it costs us, I think, just over £1 million. Costs aside, though, Kenny, it's more to do with this football club. You and I were brought up in a football club that won at all levels, every single levels, and it just seems to me that we are losing that under, no matter what level it is or no matter what we're talking about. Stuff like today is becoming all too familiar, and it has to stop.
I'll point you back to what I was just talking about with the statement. From top down, the culture is rank rotten. We have lost our way as a football club on every single level. And that's a sad thing to admit, but it's true. On the women's game, I watched it with my son today. We both felt exactly the same way. That's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. It was absolute rubbish from start to finish. And I don't mean to be, if I'm coming across as disparaging, it's not about it being a women's game. It was just absolutely shocking to watch for 90 minutes. It was just dreadful. And what sums this Rangers team up, this women's team up, is that you play each other after the split there, you're going to play each team 4 times. We haven't beat any of the other top 4 sides at home all season. And that's where you've not won the league, because that's where you have to take advantage of, for talking sake. And I know they don't always play these games at Ibrox, but that's 2 years in the bounce now, I think, isn't it? But they've went into the last game at Ibrox, win the game, you're going to win the league. And both times have bottled it. And it's symptomatic of what goes on at our football club. Stevie, I totally agree with you, and I'm kind of bored of it. But in regard to the cost of it, I would actually be turning around and saying if the new owners are serious about this, and being American, where women's football is far bigger than it is here, I would hope that they invest a lot more in it, because there's a potential there to make a lot of money, and that might sound a bit callous, but it's true. There's a potential to make an awful lot of money out of the women's game. But I think to do that, we are clearly going to have to invest heavily in that squad, perhaps look at the management structure and where they play, all these kind of things, because, they won the league 2 years ago, Stevie. 3 years ago now, is it? Yeah, it'll be 3 years ago. And they've went backwards at quite an alarming rate for me. And for me, you have to keep progressing these things. And it doesn't look as if we are. And if anything, I was quite appalled at the lack of ability in some of our players today, and the lack of pace, the lack of a decent first touch, that the lack of professionalism actually out on the football pitch. And it's no disrespect to any of the girls or the manager. I don't mean all of that. I'm just talking about on today's performance. There was one first touch actually that went 6 yards, and you're like, come on, you've got to be better than that. You're playing football full time. You've got to be better than that. And I don't know. I don't really know what else to say without being overly critical of the women's game, because I don't know enough about the women's game in Scotland to go and start wading and start kicking at things, because I watched your vlog today, Stevie, and I could see the frustration in your face. It was just, what are you meant to do with that?
Yeah, listen, we cover the women's channel just like we cover the B team, and we cover as much as we can. The dream is, I think, one day on this channel to have it so big that we can cover absolutely everything and be full time. That's a long way off. But Bluebells asks, how many members are we at now, lads? Channel's going really well. I think we're just over 260 or thereabouts. I think we picked up a good 20 odd members on today's show, which we love. If you don't want to become a member, that's absolutely fine, but it is really, really helpful if you could like the videos and also subscribe on YouTube. That is a massive thing for us. Our subscriptions are heading towards 7,000 subs, which, considering we started doing this just over a year ago, and considering that we are a new podcast in this, there is so many fantastic Rangers podcasts to choose from. So to sit having nearly 5,000 people watching us at this very moment is incredible. We've taken up almost an hour of your time. We'll go from, I think we'll go now. I think that's a good way to sum it up. We are, we'll be back tomorrow evening with the Monday night podcast. Kenny and I will appear midweek at some point, and then there'll be a usual podcast towards the end of the week. Obviously, no more matches to cover now. Women do have the Scottish Cup final. We'll keep an eye on that next weekend. But hopefully, with the news will start coming in with regards to new signings, new manager, and takeover, which will be due. I'm still sure that takeover will be due at the start of next month-ish. So we're thereabouts, judging by what Chris has reported and what's been said. Hopefully we'll get that news coming in, Andrew, and it's going to be a busy wee period for us. We'll try and do as many breaking news pods and things when news drops, and hopefully we can comment on that.
Sure, I think we've talked behind the scenes about what we're going to do in the off season. Obviously, we do have this Helicopter Sunday documentary coming up. I'm back home now, so I can actually do some work on that, despite Stevie's best efforts. And we're also, I'm sure, going to have plenty of news to talk about over the next few weeks, because it's Rangers. The news doesn't stop, unfortunately, and this is going to be plenty of action and news coming up that we'll be able to discuss.
Penelope comments. I'm just going to read this out just before we go. Hope you don't mind me putting a message. I'm a High Bees fan today. All season we've been written off. We weren't the best team, play for each other, and today we were brave and dogged. I said it on the vlog that Hibs are well worthy. Grant Scott's done an incredible job at the Rangers, at the women's team. I beg your pardon, for Hibs, and he's done great. And Hibs are a really strong side. I congratulate them today on the vlog, and I'll say it again. They've done fantastic to win that, Penelope. So we look at this as, because we're a Rangers podcast, from a Rangers point of view, we're not sitting here, and we do it all the time. But I really don't have an issue with commenting and congratulating Hibs. So that's no issue at all for me. Kenny, thank you once again for joining us. Much appreciated. We will keep going here on Four Lads to bring as much as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I know a lot of the boys on other pods, they take a wee break over the summer. We are not going to do that. We're going to batter right through, because we're masochistic nutcases, aren't we? We'll just batter on through it, because there'll be plenty to talk about all summer. And there'll be so much going on that we'll just keep going. And on Penelope's comment, listen, what I would say about Hibs today, Hibs were by far the better side, and fair play and congratulations to them, because they've been there right up there all season long, and they've won that on merit, and good luck to them, because they were really decent today, I thought, and should have won it by more, actually, if you're being honest, on the day. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Stevie. Thanks, Andrew. Good to see you back, mate, and hope all is well. And cheers.
Thank you to William Neal, who's also joined up, taking out a membership. We really appreciate it. The support on this pod has been incredible. For members, you can enter the competition, which is a members video. Go and have a wee peek at that. You can try and win a couple of t-shirts which have been given to us. Go and check that out. If you haven't, I'll get them posted out once we have chosen a winner. I'll probably make Kenny choose a winner if he ever calms down. Our very resident only John Brown, I think, is a good way to look at it from now on. And also you can get access to our member podcast, which the current one at the moment is Stephen Naismith. And the next couple of weeks, you'll see interviews as well with Bob Malcolm and Stephen Smith to do with Helicopter Sunday. So yeah, there is plenty to do. We're going to have regular competitions with Black Rooster as well next season. So there will be a chance to win yourself a Black Rooster meal at Ibrox every single home game, which we look forward to doing that as well. So we'll set up that for members and things as well. So we're going to try and do plenty of things, which is just a wee thanks. It's like you guys go above and beyond to support us. So we'll try and do these things. Also try and get some more individual interviews as well. There's a few names being put to me that I'm trying to currently trace as well and see if we can get them on the show. So we will do that. Thanks everybody that has watched this evening. As I said, we've been on for an hour. There's almost 5,000 of you watching live. We really appreciate it. Thanks to the boys. And I hope that you have a great rest of the Sunday and go and have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks everybody for joining us on Four Lads. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Afro Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, and our partners Black Rooster and Art of Gold. We really appreciate it. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy your week. And let's hope for some more Rangers news as soon as possible so we can start planning ahead of next season. Take care, everyone. Bye.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Afro Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.